Well, I'm going to try to do some work on the greenhouse today. Don't know how much I'll get done. I got to go to work in a couple hours, but I'll set the camera up and get what I can.
I'm just assembling the bottom frame that'll be buried into the ground. It's a C-channel type frame that has to be bolted all together. There were literally 1,500 nuts, bolts, and screws for this entire project. And then this track, or this frame here, once I had it assembled, I had to go back and bury it 5 inches into the ground. This bottom part here you can bolt together good and tight, but everything else on that entire thing you only want hand tight. Otherwise you have to disassemble them, almost every nut and bolt, at a later point to add another piece to where it's bolted together. Digging this down by hand took quite a while, but oh well, trying to get it all level and square. Use those white posts to try and put in the corners to help hold things in position as I was getting it square and level. You want to do a real good job on trying to get it square and level, otherwise the rest of the greenhouse will suffer for it. Okay, now I add some flat pieces that just get clamped to they have like a J clamp thing that clamps them down to that buried frame. Took quite a while to find everything in the box. Nothing had great labels. There were some that had stickers and some that didn't. I lost part of the video there. I don't know what happened to it. I had to dig down 1 inch all the way around on the inside to be able to access those and hook on those J clamps. I'm working on the four corner posts. There were a ton of parts in this kit that has to be assembled and put together. Altogether, I probably had 30 to 40 hours worth of labor in it, trying to get it put together alone. And those angular braces you can see right there, and the vertical corner posts, every one of those had to be unbolted and rebolted multiple times. The same bolts that you used to clamp that flat bar to the C-channel had to be unbolted to be able to use the same bolts to hook all of this stuff to. And just trying to get all square right there, I had to drill holes because the hole it was supposed to have wasn't in it. That one corner bar wasn't drilled right, so I had to drill holes in it for things later on too. Now I'm putting together the top of the walls that go between those vertical corner posts all the way around. Like I say, everything will be disconnected and reconnected and added to at a later point. Do not tighten everything down. You'll have to undo it later. It's guaranteed. And the pictures are pretty bad, so it takes a lot of figuring to get it all right. These vertical bars going in the walls here, I got those all in all the way around. Come to find out, every one of them had to be removed so that I could add bolts to them. They have a track in the side where you drop the head of the bolt into, and so the only way to get the bolts that I needed to add to it at a later point in was to remove them and add the bolts I needed to get them in there. Okay, it's been about a week in between here and the last one. You can see the snow on the roof. Turned off cold. These horizontal wall braces that I'm putting in right here, they're the ones that needed the extra bolts added to the vertical bars, that I had to remove the vertical bars to be able to add the extra bolts into. This is just a basic build process of just as the instructions are saying, with just the parts that it includes. I'll go back later and do some upgrades to it, make things better and stronger, more secure. You wouldn't think it'd be this big of a process, but with having to undo things and redo things and dig through that box trying to find the one little part or piece you need, it took a lot of time. And where it doesn't tell you, oh, by the way, add this extra nut or bolt into your track now so you don't have to do it later, it took time having to add all that. Here I'm having to, there's some plates that go up on the roof or up on the top there that your roof bolts to, and they have a front side and a back side and a top side and a left side, but they're not marked at all. You just have to, I had to take them down and turn them and twist them and move them until I finally got all the holes to line up. They would line up the one way, but not for the other way, for the other piece. Okay, here I'm working on the roof. I don't know what happened to the video, why I didn't get any of that. I thought it was recording. Yeah, up here on the roof, it was the same as the walls. You have all these horizontal cross braces that had to be bolted to the tracks. And the only way to get the bolts in was to take the ends off and add nuts and bolts, or drop the bolts down the track as you needed. Their instructions aren't very good. Trying to find all the parts. They should have the parts separated and organized better, and like a piece of tape wrapped around them with the number written on the tape of which numbers are in that bundle of parts. And they don't. They just have everything together in rubber bands, and you have multiple parts in those rubber bands. Here I'm trying to build the roof vent pieces, and I had to readjust the other cross beams that I had put up there as I went, because there's no mark or indication of where you should have put them when you're originally installing them. Here's the doors I'm trying to build, the sliding doors. They weren't very fun at all, trying to get all those parts and pieces, because there's no support to hold them together while you're working on them. The screws just go inside of a little tiny hole, and it's very easy to strip them out. Have to be careful of that. And the door frames do have a right way and a wrong way to be assembled. You got to be careful of that too. Some parts look pretty universal, and then as you get going, you're like, wait a minute, I can't go like that. You got to take time to figure out which way it should have went. That door did not want to go in, so I had to do some work on it, some adjusting to get it into place. The other door went in pretty good. It's a bugger to get them started, but once they're on, they're all right. Here I'm working on the roof. I don't know what happened to the video again. I thought it was recording, but it wasn't. Putting on the stupid little spring clips. Those things They go in easier if you can use your hand because you got better dexterity. But after a few of them, your fingers are so sore you have to use pliers. And then I don't know how many of them I have had come slip out of the pliers and go whizzing past my head that I had to go find. Anyways, it was quite a project. Took a lot longer than I originally thought it probably would. And like I say, this is just the basic building of it. I'm gonna do some upgrades later. I'll do a follow-up video for that. Trying to get all the panels in different places. It took a long time. I mean, a lot longer than you expect. Every one of the panels has a clear plastic protective sheeting on both sides that have to be removed before you put them up. And I'm finally down to the last end, so yeah. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this will help. It is quite a project, so plan plenty of time to work on it. Here's finally the last panel, so thanks again.